My name is Professor Gilbert Ouma, the coordinator of academic programs in the Institute for Climate Change and Adaptation. I'm currently sitting in the office of the Director, Institute for Climate Change and Adaptation. This institute is probably the last major project that Professor Wandiga initiated and started. We were a group of us a while ago, before 2011. There was Professor Daniel Olago, Professor Maggie Opondo, Professor Madara Ogot, Professor Aluoch. We came together and decided to come up with the institute. The institute deals with climate change adaptation in African issues. Professor Wandiga was very passionate about climate change issues. And we came together, we'd done a few projects before, and there was a call for projects, and we decided to bid for this. And we managed to get that project funded. So 2011, we started the institute, and he was the first director of the institute, and he managed to run the institute through the years for all that time. Professor Wandiga was very humble man. He would still be teaching, having lectures. Initially, he was from the Department of Chemistry, and he would still be carrying out lectures, and you'd find him in the college carrying his projector, going around to classes from here. And that taught me a lot about humility. He was a very humble man. And if you had the chance to walk through the university and come to the institute, you'd find it as a standing out kind of department. It's very clean and very neat, thanks to him. And for a very long time, we have not had direct funding. And he encouraged us to do a lot of projects in climate change and adaptation. And that has sustained the institute and kept it going for so long. Through the projects, we published a lot of papers on climate change, and that really is a legacy for him. He's an academic giant. He published a lot, both in chemistry and in climate change. And that shows that even at a mature age, a person can still shift from his original focus to a new focus. It is very unfortunate that Prof left us last week, a very saddening news and very abrupt to most of us. And I think to the fraternity of ICCA, it's a major loss. Even though Prof had already retired, we still relied on his advice, and we normally go to him for that. And I think for those of us who are here, I would urge them to just move on and keep the spirit of Prof moving on, going to the future, trying to meet what he stood for. For the university fraternity, where he was very greatly honored, we also need to just learn from what he used to do and move on. To the family, we present our sincere condolences. We know it's very difficult for anybody to absorb such happenings, but we believe that through the strength of the Almighty God, you can be able to move forward and still make strides into the future. We have to keep the spirit of Prof burning and to continue with what he left with us. As me personally, he was one of my mentors, and I think what I can do is to carry this forward and mentor other younger people moving forward.
even know this place?
I was a member here and I was ejected.
Really?
No,
Yeah, they said they didn't want
you'll
to
be.
my time.
No. When you go live, you tell me. evening.
We will start in about 5 minutes. We'll start in 5 minutes. Welcome to the Chiromo Campus Club, a club Professor Wandiga helped establish, a club he patrons most of the time, a club probably some of you might have come for some wine and also for some brainstorming session with Professor Wandiga. So this is part of his home, and you are very much welcome. So I'm just waiting for 1 or 2 people to come. So before we begin, I will allow Professor Ichangi to sign the condolence book. Professor Ichangi is a professor from the Department of Geology, somebody who has worked with Professor Rafael Munab, Professor Wandiga, and he will give us a word of prayer before we start our program. Then we'll start the official program, and I want, yes. Okay. Let's go. Thank you, Professor Ichangi. Kindly pray for this meeting. Take the mic closer to you.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. In 1969, this professor here welcomed me to Form 1 with a left hook. And then the first lecture that I took in chemistry was given by Professor Wandiga in 1976. And he welcomed us with the Schrödinger equation of the probabilistic opportunity for a particle that behaves in a wave with a big equation. And from that day, I decided to be very careful with people from South Nyanza. Because both of them from Form 1. William now is one of my best friends. We used to call him senior boy. I was a junior boy. And then we come here and find Professor Wandiga. And when we went to geology, we found a neighbor, Professor Nyambok, from near Simbi there. And my condolences to the family. We have lost a gentleman, our teacher. Not too long ago, we were with him at Munavu's in St. Paul's. And he always used to tell me, "Good evening, Daniel. Good afternoon." Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that throughout the ages you have not left your people without mentors, without teachers, without your word. And we thank you for our professor, our teacher, our senior, Professor Wandiga. We thank you that even at the end of his day, you took him home safely, painlessly, quietly. He rested with you in the quiet of the afternoon without pain. We want to pray, Heavenly Father, for this gathering, that whatever we deliberate here may be in accordance with your will, that you would even pour your Holy Spirit upon us as we remember him. And we thank you for his life and the thousands he has taught among us. So be with your people here, guide us and guard us, and surround this family with love and peace and joy, knowing that they have done your will. Thank you even for the University of Nairobi and other universities, and for each person gathered here. In this Pentecost season, pour your Holy Spirit in our hearts, that we may love you as you deserve. So hear our prayer, for we offer it through Jesus Christ, who is our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Thank you very much, Professor Ichangi, for the tribute and the prayers. So we are gathered this evening just to pay tribute to our mentor, to our teacher, to a man who contributed to what chemistry and science in this country and the continent is. So I will not go. I'm not going to say much for now. I now request the chair of the Department of Chemistry, Professor David Kariuki, to welcome us and also start by giving his tribute, and then later on we'll all have an opportunity to say something.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here, all of us. This afternoon, we are here to celebrate the life of our patriarch, our teacher, our colleague, our friend, grandfather, father, and a whole set of those accolades. I won't take long. We'd imagined that this will be a celebration where we interact and talk of things that, and different ways that we interacted with Professor Shem Wandiga. Let me introduce myself again, that I come from the Department of Chemistry. Currently, I'm the chairman of the Department of Chemistry, and he started his journey when he landed from US, the Department of Chemistry, University of Nairobi. And was just looking through that he landed here in 1976, and at that time we had only one. You recall the university became a university in 1970, and we had one chairman of the Department of Chemistry since the inception of the Royal College. That was 1961 up to 1976. Professor Peter Robbins. So it is Professor Peter Robbins who hired Professor Shem Wandiga as a bidding very young man when he landed from the US. And 4 years into his academic life, he became the chairman. So we are very proud of him. And he actually ushered and was among the first professors. So he's the first professors or professor. He's the first professor and the first professors from the University of Nairobi Department of Chemistry. And let me tell you that all those years he saw us through learning. He taught us. He headed the institution and went even very far, but deep in our hearts and in our interactions, he was always with us. He was so dear to us. Just the other day we were looking at and saw that he actually left active teaching 6 years ago. And for us, it was the other day. He's still around. His lab is still there. His impact, what his network brought, or is still bringing, I still approve. His resources that are being used on a project that he ran from 2011, 2010, is still live. His name is still running there. We approve with his name. What I'm trying to tell you, he's still alive with us, even though he is gone. Every lunchtime, if you don't find him here, you can easily get him at the club, UKC, or you can connect with him. The last time we were with him at the Requiem Mass of his friend, Professor Raphael Munavu, and we sat with him, and he told me that it was so dear to him that he remembers just like it was yesterday when Professor Munavu came knocking, and he was the one who hired him into the department, literally. And we were thinking, and as we were walking out, some of my colleagues and friends and some of the students he had taught actually ran and told me, we need to go and visit Professor Shem Wandiga. That was on Wednesday. So Friday, a week later, we contacted and we were to go visit him that Tuesday after the Monday. And as we were connecting with him on a Friday, he was vibrant. And he was looking forward to that day to go and have a word with us, those would be available. So what I'm trying to say for this is that Professor Shem Wandiga was as close to us on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or even hourly basis, if you may take that, because all the things, quite a number of the things that we do, particularly in my section, is an inorganic chemist, and that's the same line I'm in. So we've been interacting with him quite often, and we still use a lot of the things that he does, that he brought to us. So this evening, or this afternoon, would want us to you knew him, or how you would wish, even going forward, so that we form a family that makes the legacy that he was. One of the main, one attribute that he was, that all of us I know are testing, is how humble Professor Shem Wandiga was. Regardless of how big the name was. Let me not take so much time. I want to give the mic to the chairman from the family side. We pride ourselves in the second family as academician. And let me also say that the Vice Chancellor, Professor Engineer Oyoo, and the management as a whole, including the chairman of council, we have their blessing to have this and to eulogize here that those of us who are there today in the morning at the Chiromo Pala, and also at the St. Paul's Chapel, and they are condoling with us all the times, even at the UKC when we meet. Thank you very much. We'll be engaging as we go on.
Good evening. Good evening. I know it's a very solemn and also celebratory time that we are meeting, but even then, the positive news is that the positive thing about it is that there is a word celebration. We're talking about celebrating a legacy. My name is Ken Bosire. I sit in between the academy and the two families. For me, today is a meeting of two families, the biological family and his academic family. And this, for me, is a befitting kind of moment that defines the man that we talk about today. And I hold the position that I am the one who has been convening the meetings of bringing all the various stakeholders and institutions to raise the resources that we need to what we call giving a befitting send off to hero, scholar, and who we now can properly say, if I was in the newsroom writing a headline, I would just say the father of chemistry. So the father of chemistry. And that is a befitting way of describing him. Before I make any remarks, I just want to introduce the family so that you know who is in the room. I want them to stand. So that you So I'll give them a chance to say their name.
Wandiga is eldest daughter, and following that tradition of being on both sides, I'm added here also.
I'm Oyoo, and I'm the granddaughter, the daughter to his father, to his late son, Charles Oyoo.
My name is Prof. I'm nephew to Professor.
Good evening. My name is Edna Rota. So I call Prof. my uncle, my mother-in-law is Prof's last born sister. Thank you so much for being here. May God bless you all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Rota, and Prof is my uncle. There
Good evening. My name is Oyoo. Prof is my name.
Good evening. My name is Abuton Sando. Prof is my father-in-law. Sophie Wandiga is my wife. Thank you.
Hey everyone. My name is Andrew Wandiga Koch. Prof was my grandfather.
Thank you. Those are the members of the family, and you will allow me to be a bit formal and put in something small to say. Sometimes I get overwhelmed if I have to speak off the mic. I just say we gather at Chiromo for Professor Shem Wandiga's what we call the family is academic home. Place where he reshaped the legacy of chemistry, environmental science, and the lives of countless scholars. This is the academic family coming together tonight. This is a place where he has left an indelible mark and footprints and fingerprints all over the place. Everywhere as I walked in here, I was told, Prof, and in this, Prof, and in this. And I said, we probably have to find a place where we immortalize it in a corner and say, this is him. This morning when we had a gathering, something was running through my mind. In the spiritual world, the Catholic Church that the faithful belong to, they have put in a park at a place called Resurrection Garden, where people go and reflect about spirituality. And I wondered whether it's possible within this great esteemed institution where you can also have what we call a park, with all the disciplines that are done here. You create corners. This is a chemistry side of the park. This is a biological sciences, where when somebody wants to feel completely chemistry, you can go and imbibe the spirit of chemistry, biology, environment. And then I also wondered, in Africa, we do not celebrate our heroes a lot. We create what we call an annual event that brings all people to celebrate him as a father of chemistry. A journalist and in media, one of the celebrated guys, I think, who he knew very well was Philip Ocheng, the late Philip Ocheng. As editors, we have what we call an annual Philip Ocheng Memorial Lecture, where we talk about his legacy, we talk about the trends in journalism, and generally brings us together to talk about the industry. And it will be a befitting thing for the university and the academic fraternity, family, to think about something close to that. Because very easily, after we turn the soil, there's a tendency for us to move on. But if we immortalize his works, what he stood for, that will be a very, very befitting way of entrenching his legacy in the Republic of Kenya and the world that he has traversed. So, karibu sana. I'm keen, eager to hear in your own words what your interactions and what you think about him. On Sunday, we had an interaction that was very interesting. Professor Ogada was there and everybody opened their heart. So I would urge all of us to open our hearts. Let the tears flow if they have to flow. Let the laughter come if it has to come, because that's who we are. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you. Let's open this and be yourself, really. I think that is well. And I would like to invite Professor Olago. This is Professor Olago. Will introduce himself and start us up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, my deep and heartfelt condolences to the family and also the friends and colleagues, because we have lost a great man. But we know that this is the way of all men and women and living creatures on this earth. But what is bestowed on us by those who have gone before, we will never forget. So I'm Professor Daniel Olago. in the Department of Earth and Climate Sciences. I'm a geologist by training, but a very multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary person now over the years. So I've known Professor Wandiga, I call him Shem, and I'll do so from here henceforth, for a solid 30 years. A little bit more informally, but he has been one of two of my mentors throughout all of those years, Professor Shem Wandiga and Professor Eric Odada. So I think it was in 1989. At that time, Prof was the DVC Finance. And here in Chiromo, we had Professor Haida. That was my last year of undergraduate, and immediately I got into a master's program. But during that last year, it followed the disbandment of SONU, the Students' Organization of University of Nairobi. So the students had no representative. And there was a lady who was in chemistry called Susan Ruguru, who urged me to take up the mantle and form a new students' organization. So I ended up forming the organization, what we called Organization of Nairobi University Science Students, ONUS. That was in 1989, with Susan as my secretary. Now, because of that big fiasco with SONU, we were always being followed by the special intelligence guys. They're always on our tail. But I remember one day when the students were now rioting, then Professor Haida called me to his office. And he said, you've got to cool down these guys, because we hear from Professor Wandiga's office that we have not yet gotten authority to incur expenditure. He said AIE. So, you know, that was a new word for me. I mean, as a young guy, yeah, you are telling me about AIE. So I asked him, what's that? He said, authority to incur expenditure. And I asked, what guarantees are there if I go out and talk to the students that they will actually get their money? He said, that guarantee is there within 3 days. So we walked out and the situation was calmed. After that, I went off for my PhD. So there was not so much interaction with him at that point in time. But when I did come back in 1995, that is when we really started to get close. Before I get on to that, let me also just say one thing which I forgot, which is procedural. I'm the vice chair of the club here, and on behalf of the chairman who is not here today, was not able to join us, I welcome you formally to this venue. So karibuni sana. Yes, so I met him in 1995. I was still hustling around for a job, and it took me about a year to get a job, not within the university. Took me a year and a half to get a job within the university. But Professor Odada was running the Africa arm of a global agency called START, System for Analysis, Research and Training, which I read last month was closed because Trump stopped the funding. They were based in Washington, DC. Shem was the chair. And that is how our close association started. And I was a program officer, so running just about everything to do with global environmental change. So many people think that Prof became a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary scientist and even working in climate only recently, tying it to the ICCA. It actually started way beyond that. And those were the days when we were beginning to move the issues of global environmental change, which also included some of the global warming issues that we are tackling today and some of the climate change issues that we are tackling. So sometime around I think it was 1997 or so, we decided we want to write proposals on climate change and get funding and do research, because we noted that there was a big dearth of that here. And Professor Wandiga was heading that initiative. So he collected about 50 of us academics, young and old, and in between. And we used to meet across the main campus in a building which has been converted now to offices. It used to be some hotel. And so we used to sit, brainstorm, write, and write, and write. And people started falling off, getting very tired of all this writing that's going on without results. So out of about well over 40, we ended up a year later, just 4 people. But the proposal that we wrote now, the 4 of us got us the first money to do some work on climate change and health in the East Africa region. So we roped in some colleagues from Tanzania and colleagues from Uganda. And yeah, so we started this work. Now at that time, interdisciplinarity was something that people didn't really know much about. And our colleagues in Tanzania and in Uganda, they really didn't quite know where we were heading to, you know. And one person asked at one time, what is a geologist doing in a health-related field? Okay, so Shem laughed at that, said, these guys, I don't know how long it's going to take, but they'll get there. Don't you worry, they'll get there. He was very patient. 4 years down the line into that particular project, one of the mathematics professors just blurted out in the middle of a workshop and said, now I get it. Now I understand transdisciplinarity. Now I get it. Now I understand this. And yeah, so that project went on extremely well. And we have, you know, very good papers which are cited everywhere. I found out a lot of new stuff concerning those links, environmental links, geological links to health. And it was a good time that we had. So Shem then got us to write another proposal which was funded by the GCF. This was a very interesting one that we had in Makueni. So we're looking at dealing with the issue of drought. And so at that particular point in time, we went around to look at where we could actually do this research. So we came upon an area that we felt, okay, it needed to have this kind of research. We saw freshly plowed grounds, a couple of water ponds for irrigation, and we thought, yeah, we could do something there. It was in September. And yeah, so we asked these guys, why did you plow these fields so early on, before the rains? They said, we didn't plow them this year. We plowed them at exactly the same time last year. It looked like freshly turned earth. They had actually not had rain for more than 1 year. Okay, so we eventually settled in there and started running the project. And Shem was very good in coordinating people, in allowing people to think across, you know, age groups and across knowledge groups and integrating that. That he did very well and gave everybody confidence, you know, to do what they're doing and to do it very, very well. One of the things that he taught me was how to write minutes. You know, the first set of minutes that I ever wrote was a project meeting. Then he looked at it and said, Dad, this is not the way to write minutes. So he shredded it, said, now come, I'm going to show you. This is how it is laid out. And he showed me practically by writing and showed me how minutes are actually written. So I probably write the best minutes amongst this entire group. People have forgotten some of the business English art, except maybe Professor Uta over there. So that was Shem. And maybe I'll say a little bit about the Institute, how it came about. We I was just looking. I was the one who was in charge of looking for these opportunities from funding agencies. And then I saw one from the Open Society Institute. That was around, I think it was in 2009. And yeah, so I said, well, this is cool. So I took it to Shem, and he said, well, the deadline is in 3 days. Do you think we can do it? I said, yeah, why not? We've done a lot of work. We have the fortitude to do this. He said, okay, go ahead. So within a day, we had the draft. It was shared. Within the second day, we had the log frame, and everything was ready and prepared. We're asking for $4 million US, and we got it. Yeah. So from there, the whole story of the ICCA began. So Shem took us through the founding stages, getting everything approved in the university, establishing it. We're operating as a virtual institute. We had nothing, but those of you who were able to visit yesterday, now saw a well-stocked and facility with all the modern day amenities that are necessary for research. So credit to Shem for doing that. I don't want to talk a lot, but I wanted to highlight that his legacy, it goes well beyond the borders of this nation, goes well beyond the borders of Africa. It is actually global. So for people like those, we say that these are people who belong to the stars because they have impacted people and places in the entire earth and even the universe. We can say that as well. So a lot more will be said, and I know many of you have very nice and memories about him. And I just want to pass over this time for you also to celebrate him and to reflect on all that he has imparted to us. So asanteni sana. Thank you.
So we'll just pass the mic around. I don't know if we should start with the family first, or you want to hear. Yes. So I just want to start with Professor Yusuf, who was also the chair of the Department of Chemistry, the student of Professor Wandiga. Yes, he can say a lot.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yusuf is my name. Well, first of all, I would like to extend my message of condolences to the family, relatives and friends, following the demise of Professor Wandiga. I hope that God will take care of everybody. Okay. I've been with Professor Wandiga for a long, long time. Number one, the village is my neighbor. I think my village and his village, they are 3 kilometers apart. Okay. And Professor Wandiga was my lecturer here between 1981 and 1985 during my undergraduate studies. And then after that, again, he taught me between 1985 and 89 for my master's, okay? And after that, I joined Butter Shoe Company for 2 years. Then professor told me that, Mr. Yusuf, you are at Butter Shoe Company and we trained you to be a chemist. So when I retire, I want somebody from Kindu Bay to be in the Department of Chemistry. And that's the way I came to join the Department of Chemistry in 1991. And then I started my PhD, and he was my advisor. He told me that, Mr. Yusuf, don't sleep. From Bata, immediately start on your PhD, which I started in 1993. And he told me that when you finish, nobody will follow you around. And Professor Wandiga, in the Department of Chemistry, he was the second chairman. The first one was I don't know whether Mr. Robbins or Dr. Robbins, Professor Robbins. Then Professor Wandiga was number 2. Professor El Busaidi was number 3. Professor Gitu, number 4. Professor Karaoke, the senior Karaoke, not him, number 5. And Professor Jumba, number 6. Professor Rata, number 7. And I was number 8. Yes, I think Prof. Karaoke is number 10. Yes, Onyari is number 9. So at one time he was my boss. And then later on between 2009 and 2015, I was his boss in the Department of Chemistry. And he told me that, Yusuf, if you want to run the department well, don't step onto people's toes, because after 6 years, you'll be out of that office. And if you used to harass the others, they will also harass you. You'll be hiding, okay? So I followed that very well and treated everybody very well, including Professor Wandiga. In fact, most of the time, I would assign other junior fellows to teach on his behalf. So we have really lost somebody who is really was a real scientist, and as Professor Olago said, he was a multidisciplinary, multidisciplinary. He wanted people from mathematics, chemistry, geography to work together, and when you do multidisciplinary, the outcome usually is perfect. So we have really lost somebody. In fact, just to finish, in 1992, my father got sick. So I brought him to Nairobi. At that time, I didn't have money. Our salary was like 10,000 shillings. And Mata Hospital, they wanted a deposit of 6,000 I didn't have. And Professor Wandiga instructed his finance officer, at that time he was a DVC, Administration and Finance, that please give Mr. Yusuf 50,000 advance. He will be paying 3,000 every month until he is through, which I did, and my father got very well, and he really thanked Professor Wandiga. So on my father's behalf, who is the late, thank you very much. And Professor Ogada, isn't it? Yes, we were with him also in Maseno. Thank you very much and welcome. Pass the mic to him. Prof.
Oh, to me?
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon. Yes, my continued condolences to the family of Professor and I'm quite close to all of them because I was pretty close to Professor Wandiga. It is on. It is on. Huh?
It is on.
What is?
It is. Let's see. No. The online people will not hear you. Sorry. Just 1 minute. 1 second.
Hello. Is that okay? Yeah, may I introduce myself? I'm Professor William Okello Ogara. I always tell people that Okello is with a single L. There's a reason why I do that. Using double has landed me before advocates. So it is a serious issue. I have worked for the University of Nairobi for 35 years before eventually retiring. But my letter of employment was signed by none other than Professor Wandiga. And I think in many generations of many of us who have now are exiting the university, our letters of employment were signed by Professor Wandiga. Not many who are here now. You are too young to have enjoyed that privilege. Sure, it is a fact, but the majority you have seen in the University of Nairobi for the last 10 years, as they grew up, became responsible and exited, all their letters have that nice signature of Professor Shem, Oyoo, Wandiga. I don't want to take too much time here because I know the evening can be long. I have known Professor Wandiga from towards the end of the 90s. Close. Of course, before we have had some meetings in Homa Bay under South Nyanza ages, but later on, from 1989, 88, when the development of MCA was going on, we participated from NES and into the development of MCA, and that is the time I met Professor Wandiga. And MCA is the Environmental Management Act, is it? 1999. Yeah. So we met, and since then we worked together. In the year 2001, 2002, we got some money from the Dutch government. So the implementation of MCA was delayed by 6 months. And the purpose is that there was need to sensitize industry and government on the implications of MCA once it is introduced. So we spent a lot of time traveling around the country with Professor Wandiga and one or two other people who eventually rose to some heights. I don't want to call their names because I don't know whether they'll want to associate with this. But then we went around the country to sensitize industry and leadership, including the judiciary at the end of it, on the implications of MCA, when finally it becomes, what do you call it? When it becomes law. So we were allowed to do that. After that, MCA was implemented. And the key thing is that it will not be business as usual. And I think the message sank. Those who in the initial days did not get it right had certain challenges. Yeah, polluter pays principle and things like that. So that is from that point. I've been very close to Professor. Very, very close. Almost like a brother. And may God rest his soul in peace. We have been like that and several things, which is now history. But at the end of it all, I have been with Professor Wandiga at the United Kenya Club over the years. In fact, my joining the club was by him when he told me that you can't go around the streets the way I see you, entering some funny corners. Belong to the club so that these suits of yours have meaning. He tells me very nicely. He was very calmly spoken. So he told me, he called me to the club and he told me I have the form here. You sign it. I want you to be with me because I've worked with you and this is where you belong. So since then we have been together and I want to tell you, I think he did it very well for me because it made me get out of certain areas of town. You know, I elevated my conduct, my associates. That is the impact Professor Wandiga has had in my life and many. And almost virtually over these years we have been together. And I am sure we have shared a lot, which I cannot talk about here. In my own family, everybody knows him because he has participated and attended all our critical events. I even had a son having a wedding in South Coast. And you know, the first person to arrive was Professor Wandiga. That's not so long ago. Recently, I've had other not very positive things. There's no single one he missed. Says, Bill, I'm coming. And old as he is, young in mind as he was, he attended. So I am here on behalf of myself, on behalf of the family. But above all, I want to tell you that when the ICCA was being started, Professor Wandiga called me from the department and told me to come over. And he told me that we are starting this initiative and it is very important that you join it because I know that you will contribute very well. And I think Dan can attest to that. So I participated into the development of the curricula, moving on, admission of the first PhD and master students. And I can assure you, the first year I taught virtually every day, both PhD and masters, because we were few. But he told me that the feedback I get is very good, but I have no doubt that you are going to do that. I've stayed with him. I stayed in that department. Then I think I first gave you the first 4 PhDs. Yes, so I think, and Professor Wandiga then even strengthened my relationship with him. I want to say one thing. This man was a natural mentor. I've never met, let me start with the Luos. I've never met a Luo who is more calm than Professor Wandiga. I've never met a Luo who is soft-spoken like Professor Wandiga. I've never met a Luo who does not react even to provocation, except when he comes on, then he will tell you, Bill, maybe take it easy. So I have learned a lot from him. So I now also take it easy. Even when I'm chairing meetings, I use soft skills more than hard skills. But that is from Shem. Take it easy. When I want to now hit it hard, he says, take it easy. And that is a positive. So if he has mentored the people in chemistry, he has mentored me into the world, transdisciplinarity, transhumanity, and then ability to manage people, space, and time to make sure that what you have is only focused on results and no any other side shows. If you want to have side shows, he will keep quiet. That is Shem. I'm here also on behalf of a number of people who have really been associates of ICCA, but with changing in certain governance issues in the university, they were not able to stay, to be here up to this time. But I can tell you the contribution, ICCA is unique. I have seen it grow. And that is the history you have been given. That's the impact a person like this gives. I want to, may God rest his soul in perfect peace, because he was perfectly peaceful. Perfectly peaceful. I've told you. How many people here tell you, keep it down, keep it down? The others will tell you, Toboa. Shem is not like that. And afterwards, he will still follow. You know, I had there, Bill, you were trying to raise your voice, but this is and that. Then we smile, and I tell him, fine, understood. And we go on. The day, you know, Sunday, and then the following day, Shem passed on. Right when I woke up on Sunday, I kept on telling my wife, today, I would like to call Wandiga, and if I have time, spend time with him in the evening. But I got a sister who got sick, so I never managed to call him that evening. The following day, I just saw a message that he's no more. So you can imagine the impact of that. But I'm here. I will move with this process until he's finally laid to rest. So the family, I can promise you I'll be with you. And the moment I head the UKC team that is discussing this process, and I'm sure Mwabora is also here, we are very committed to Professor, because I think he's really in contemporary times the most committed member to the club. Again, take it easy. Thank you very much. May God rest his soul in peace. And I thank all of you for being here. Just to do what we are doing now. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. So I now want to give the opportunity for Professor Bitange Ndemo to pay his tribute. Prof. Karibu.
Good evening. I want to say pole to the family of Professor Wandiga, who actually signed my letter of employment. I'm not disclosing my age, but you should learn from him. I met him very early on in 1993, and I met him because he has a friend whom they have been together for a very long time, William Mayaka. I think some of you know William Mayaka. He had sent me to see him, and a tutorial fellow to speak to a deputy vice chancellor was something. I was shaking. Later on, I told him that I couldn't face him properly because I was too junior at the university. And so later on, Professor Ogada and others joined the academy, which Professor Callistus Juma had created. And through him, actually, we did some work in Kisumu. That time I was in government and I could go. I joined Professor Callistus Juma and his wife, but later on I came to explain to Professor that we were doing a project. And still there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And through the academy, I think in his honor, as somebody suggested, that we need some corner here to honor some of these people who have been very instrumental in our economy. At some point, he asked me to join ICC, and I think I had 2 students which we were supervising, but then I moved again. But he has been influential in my life all through since I joined the university, and we will dearly miss him. My condolences to the family, and hopefully we can find a way of making his legacy more. We do something about such people who have done a huge amount of work for our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. So I now invite Professor Mabora to build on what Professor Ogara said about UKC and also.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Yes, to the family, please accept my condolences to Professor Wandiga. I'm Professor Julius Mabora, professor in the Department of Physics. The first time I interacted with Professor Wandiga was not direct. I was first employed as a graduate assistant in 1992, although the letter was signed by Professor Onyango, but the approval came from Professor Wandiga as the DVC A&F. So I continued. The next time I interacted with him was in 1995 when I joined the Kenya National Academy of Sciences as a member. Actually, he proposed me because we were in the same cluster, the physical sciences. So we worked with him since then at the Kenya National Academy of Sciences, conferences, committees, and doing the running, because I was young then, running here and there. And then I was employed as when I became a lecturer here, and I became the chairman of department. I worked with him, but before then, I think as an associate professor and as a lecturer, I think we were also served in the college academic board because we were both professors, and then later appointed as the chairman of department. We served together also in the college management board because he was the director ICCA. And then we interacted with him again at the United Kenya Club, which I joined in 2009. So he was there. So we interacted with him, socializing in the evenings and all this. And then in 2016, I was the chairman of department here. There were elections for directors in 2016 at the United Kenya Club. And he pulled me aside, him and Professor Ogara. We know you are the chairman of department, and you can make a good leader. So they encouraged me. Actually, they proposed and seconded me to be a director of the United Kenya Club, and they mobilized. I was known a little bit, but they mobilized members to vote for me. So I became a director, and then later I became the chairman of the club because he served as the chairman at some point. I took over from Professor Ogara. So since then, we have been interacting at the United Kenya Club. I think he is very disciplined. He comes there every day at the United Kenya Club. I think there was some point, I think he stopped driving. He just uses an Uber. He comes around 5, but after 8, you will not find him at the club. He's gone. And he was interacting with, all the ages, the young and the old, all the tribes. You'll not find him, you'll find him with the Luos, Kikuyus, Kisis, and all this. So he was all over. So what I'll say is that I think we have lost a good man, really a good man. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Prof. Abi, sorry, yes. So you come here, I think. Yes, thank you.
My condolences to the family. My name is Abi Yeneso. It might sound strange. Well, I came here as a stranger from Ethiopia some 30 years ago. Then at the University of Nairobi, they were writing proposals for students to move from one country within Africa to another country. Because the trend has always been for African students to go to the north, either Europe or North America. Then my then mentor, Professor Ermias Danye and Professor Brhano Abegas, they were looking where they can send this young, poor Ethiopian. They said, let's send him to Kenya because that's where their professor, Wandiga, is stationed. And they say, let him go to their department of chemistry. I think there are universities, and we say there is only one, the University of Nairobi. So I've also learned there are professors, only the professor is Professor Wandiga. The humblest, with captivating smile. I'm glad, Cecilia, you have inherited that. And I'm here for 30 years because of his inspirations. I've studied my master's, PhD, and risen to full professorship because I wanted to emulate the Professor Wandiga. Be proud, and carry his name, and carry his legacy. My condolences, and thank you very much.
I now want to give the opportunity to the pioneering class of pharmacy to say some few words.
Thank you. Okay. So, thank you, Professor. To Cecilia, Sophie, and sorry, I've forgotten the name of the Shalene. My sincere condolences for the loss of your beloved father, friend, mentor. But I just wanted to maybe share a few things about my relationship with your dad. My name is Elizabeth Ominde formerly, now Ogaja. Ogaja is sitting there, Joseph. You might say something a little later. So I met Prof, I think in the early 1970s as a child. That was in Westlands, when I think he had just come back from the US. And I remember him living next door to us. It was Matundu Lane, stroke a school lane in the university houses there. And that's the first time I ever set eyes on Professor Cecilia and her sister Marisol and your beloved late mother. And I think the first thing that fascinated me about Cecilia was her long plaited ponytail, because our hair never grew that long in those days. Maybe these days things have changed a bit. But that was my first experience. And I always remember them coming through a hole in the fence to come and visit us. Prof was always busy. And I could remember Cecilia's mom as this quiet but strict presence that laid down the law in the family. And so, of course, I was in boarding school a lot, so she was playing more with my sisters, Gloria and Rosemary. And as we were growing up, I remember my father gave me a birthday present. It was a chemistry set. And I was sitting in the corridor, at the back garden, playing around with this chemistry set. But I didn't realize that that was setting me on the path to a career that involved chemistry. So if I could just fast forward a bit, I met Professor again professionally now as a graduate student during the time when the first president of Kenya, President Kenyatta, decided that we were going to start training pharmacists locally. And although some of us had applied for medicine, we were just grabbed off the list and put in pharmacy school because we happened to have good marks in chemistry. So that was how I ended up meeting a professor. And my memories, I think the lecture theaters across here of Professor was this quiet presence. He didn't yell like the other lecturers. He was very quiet. And I was fascinated by the fact that he could write or lecture without notes. He would just write things on the board and we would frantically try to follow. And I think one of our colleagues, the other professors, mentioned this thing called Schrodinger equation. It was one of those topics in chemistry where it looks interesting, but the professor could as well have been talking Chinese because we didn't understand a word of what he was saying. But anyway, somehow we survived the exams and we passed. And then we split. For pharmacy, we would go to Kenyatta for the professional side of our course. So later on when I qualified, I went to do a master's in the UK. And that was the first time I actually understood where and what the Schrodinger equation was about. Because I did, my master's involved nuclear magnetic resonance as a way of understanding structures of chemicals. So I was very happy when I came back to Prof and said, I actually understand what you were trying to tell us. So as the pioneers, we were very few, we were about 20 students at the time, and many of them became academics like Professor Gilbert Kokwaro and others. Professor lectures at Strathmore University. So I joined the Ministry of Health as a pharmacist. And after my master's, I was given a project, the National Quality Control Lab. I was very young in my career, but I was told you're the only person with this qualification, so you're going to be the project manager. First of all, I didn't know what project management was, but Professor told me that, and my father told me something I'll never forget. Whenever you create something, make sure it is a center of excellence. And that is something, a lesson I never forgot, because by the time I went through it, supported by the German government, we were able to now create what I believed was a center of excellence. And he told me that you will know it when you see it. And a couple of years later, we were able to invite him to be the chairman of the board of the National Quality Control Lab in Kenyatta, where we test the quality of medicines. So him and my father were, I would call them bosom buddies. Professors had this way of associating with each other. As a child, we just see them. We always know that there are people who always went to sleep at 4 a.m. What they did after that time, we had no idea. But we know that that's what a professor did. So when they became friends, Professor told me, Professor Wandiga, that his relationship with my father began when he was given a special opportunity to go and study in the US. I think my father may have, Professor Minde, the late Professor Minde, was the chair of the scholarship committee in the Ministry of Education. And Prof tells me that he didn't even know me, yet he gave me a scholarship and I was able to study. And so that is how he ended up going, meeting Cecilia's mom, and the rest is history. So he was, like many have said, that quiet presence. And even when my father passed away in the mid-1990s, in 1995, Professor Wandiga remained as a father figure to me and to many. And I know they used to tell us that, you know, we have many children. Of course, we didn't want to ask questions, but we realized what they meant. The many children were their students, and many have been here and have shared what they got from him. But the beautiful thing about him, Professor Wandiga, was the way he could give you quiet but very firm guidance. And it was guidance that lasted a lifetime. And so many of us, as the pioneers, we went on to do great things. Some of us went abroad, became academics abroad. Some of us stayed in the country, worked for the Ministry of Health. Others worked for the industry. But a lot of us based our progression, professional progression, from the guidance that Professor gave us. And so over the years, we'd meet from time to time because life took us in different places. But when we came back to Nairobi, we would now go to the United Kenya Club. So I would call us second generation or next generation members of United Kenya Club. So for my father's generation, then there was Professor, and then the other professors who are here and other academics. But we'd always meet in the evening from time to time for a glass of red wine. I know we have my French friend next door. He said, we didn't know the difference, not like the way the French do, but we would enjoy our wine with the professor, and he'd always refer to me as his daughter. And that meant something very special, because I know a lot of us felt like sons and daughters of Professor in many different ways. And I've said Professor is like a diamond. Depending on how you hold it, it'll sparkle in different ways. And that is how each one of us is experiencing him today. So just, I know there are many people who want to speak, but just to the family, just to encourage you that Professor was a gift that God gave you. And it is really important that you create the legacy, or move forward the legacy he's created. He's now not with us, but you are here. And so you can each now create him in your own way as the somebody very special for this country. And I think we were talking earlier in the prayer that we would like to create, maybe after this gathering, we can all meet again, but now create something really special. How do we promote chemistry to the general public as a subject that is of interest? A lot of people say it is such a difficult subject, I don't want to do chemistry, but it affects all of us. And I think what Professor did was to make it accessible and appealing to all of us. So whenever even when you're eating your food, remember Professor Wandiga, because of the chemistry that's going on, in your stomach. If you're having digestion, that's bad chemistry. If you eat well and you're satisfied, that is good chemistry. So, Professor, and my last word is that when I looked at this picture, I don't know how the picture was taken, but wherever I move in the room, it's like his eyes are following me. And like he was telling me, make sure nothing goes wrong. So I'm going to pray that nothing will go wrong. We're going to give him a fitting send off. And God bless you, Professor, for all you have given us. Thank you.
So let me give him an opportunity to say something building on what he has said. Just one or two things. Just come. So let's make it a bit short, about 2 minutes, so that we can finish in time. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm sure mine will be quite short because Professor, I knew him the other way. Everybody here seems to know him from the academic side. Me, I know him from the social and the family side. Elizabeth, first of all, let me say my name. My name is Joseph Ogaja, and I'm here with my wife, Elizabeth, who just spoke. Now, Elizabeth's father, Professor Ominde, when I was getting ready to go and present my interest, I went to Professor Ominde. Now, I knew he was a giant of something in education. And so when I met him, I had to meet him at United Kenya Club. So one thing he told me was, Elizabeth I have two fathers. I am one, and then there is Professor Wandiga. So now, speaking of a giant, it wasn't just one giant, it was two giants. So in the process, they kind of gave me a hard time. They did not make it easy. So it was like, you're just not walking in and out. So sometimes they even tell me, no, you go sit there for a while. But of course they were joking. Eventually I realized that. But the day we decided the dates for wedding and all that, Professor Minde, who's the father, told me he's not going to be responsible for this. Your other father, that's Elizabeth, other father, will be in charge of your wedding. And reminded me every time that this is also your father. From that time on, I treated him that way. Whatever we did, any family function I've been a part of, and I think up to now is one person. It was very difficult to swallow that issue that he had gone. He was no longer with us. Professor Ogara said something here about his coolness. Sometimes when you're sitting around the table with people, usually many of us in our discussions, there are heated debates. And I want to witness the fact that he used to know how to cool a situation. It was like, oh, go slow on this one. You're not going to win, go slow on this one. So I think there's a lot that he taught us. And for the family, you're my family. We will be with you. Wherever you go, what you need, whatever you want, we can help with, we'll be a part of that. Okay, I'm going to keep it for that for now. And I'm sure with time we'll get to mingle and know each other well with everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Good evening.
my sincere condolences. I'm French, I'm hypersensitive, I'm sorry. Okay, my name is Beatrice Despioche, and I'm a consultant, the director of a consulting company specialized in sustainable bioenergy project here in Kenya. Kenya is in my earth now for 17 good years. Yeah, Kenya is nyumbani. I had the privilege to meet Professor Shem Wandiga the first time in 2014 at World Agroforestry Center, attending a climate change conference. And I was really impressed at this time when I listened to him. There was different panelists. So I started, reading more about him and following him, and I attended some other conferences where also he was invited. Then, in 2017, Cecilia Wandiga moved back to Kenya. And we unexpectedly met at a professional network event, and we straight away connected together. We started a conversation that never ends. And finally, after a couple of time, I realized because she was always talking about dad, with your dad. Yeah. And yeah, I realized that she was the daughter of Professor Shem Wandiga that I truly admire. I said, oh my God. I said, yes, and then she invited me for lunch at your famous United Kenya Club. Yeah. So I was really impressed. And since then, I had really the privilege, the honor, and I'm so grateful that I shared, not so often, but I shared really personal, beautiful time with him. And I'm so happy that I met him personally. He was so humble. And I really love chatting with him because I've been first a social entrepreneur in clean cooking, then transitioned to consultancy in sustainable bioenergy, clean cooking, and biochar. And I was so happy to tell him, oh, you know what, now I'm exploring your native area because I'm involved in a project covering Busia, Siaya, Kisumu County. And I really always loved talking with him. And it's true, he was so calm and very humble. But also, yeah, he had such a wide knowledge and very open-minded. And I really love what you talk about multidisciplinary, because I truly believe in it. And I think we can really achieve good outcomes when we come together. Even the project I'm involved in, it's with different research scientists from different disciplinary, and I can see how much, yeah, we can really create impact. And I'm so really grateful that I had the opportunity to share a last glass of red wine with him on Easter Sunday. And it will be always in my mind and in my heart. Thank you.
Sorry. So, Professor Ogada of Acts, please.
Good evening. Good evening again. Allow me to start by saying big pole to you, Cecilia, and also to the last born and the granddaughter for the big loss that has occurred through the demise of the late Professor Wandiga. Is it on? Yeah. I'm here, colleagues,
On behalf of the African Center for Technology Studies, I'm here because ACT has lost a key member of the Governing Council. I'm suspecting that some of you may not know much about the African Center for Technology Studies, which was actually started by one of you, the late Professor Callistus Juma, in 1988 as a science, technology, and innovation think tank. He started it as an intergovernmental organization, and we have remained so that today, even as we are hosted in Kenya, we operate in over 25 African countries. Professor Wandiga joined the Governing Council of ACT 2017. I joined 2018, 1 year later. So you can see that we have been together as my boss for the last 8 years. You'll know, as a science, technology, and innovation think tank, we have a governing council where Professor Wandiga sat, but we also have an executive committee of the governing council where Professor Wandiga also sat. But Professor Wandiga, despite his age, was a very, very active member of the governing council. And as a result, whichever other organs that were created, they always invited him to chair, so that in addition to being a member of the governing council and the executive committee, 5 years ago, the governing council established an entity called ACT College of Scholars. And he was appointed as the dean of that College of Scholars. And that is an entity where it consists of few prominent professors in the area of science, technology, and innovation. And they caucus specifically to see how science, technology, and innovation can be used effectively in the continent and driving new areas and new ideas. And finally, I would like to mention that Professor Wandiga was also the chair of the Human Resource Committee of the organization. That would tell all of us that as the CEO, I was almost interacting with Professor Wandiga on a weekly basis. Indeed, the week that started 12th of this month, we had 3 meetings. We had a program committee meeting. The chair of the program committee meeting was not there. He chaired that meeting. Then we had executive committee meeting. But we also had a meeting of the Dean of Scholars, which he also chaired. So I was extremely surprised when I got a message from Cecilia. I've known Cecilia for over 10 years now, and we have interacted in several forums, that Professor Wandiga had left us. That is 2 days after we had had our last meeting. It's a great loss to ACT's family, both staff and the members of the governing council. And therefore, I'm here on their behalf to say big pole to you as the family. But from what I've seen today, all of us are bereaved. And more so you professors from this great university. And you have poured it out. So we share that pain of losing Professor Wandiga. And our prayer is that let God put his soul in eternal peace, but more importantly, the Almighty God to give you strength, you, the family, to be able to pass through this very difficult period. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Prof. Uta. Yes. Thank you. Don't worry.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bwana asifiwe. Bwana asifiwe tena. By way of introduction, I'm George Outa, and it is good that I'm talking after my dear classmate, Professor Tom Ogada here. We were with him in the school together with Amir Yusuf. I wrote something small to say about Prof, but I think it has disappeared, so I'll try to speak briefly, very briefly indeed, from memory. First of all, to extend my sincere condolences to Cecilia and the family, because I know Cecilia very well, thanks to Professor. Okay, and secondly, I just want to say that Professor Wandiga was a very unique human being. Practically everybody who has spoken here is emphasizing his unique humility, and perhaps I did not repeat that. But what I want to say is my special relationship with him in the last 15 years. Those who know me well here know that I'm basically a poet. I play around with words. I'm basically a literary scholar. But I had a chance to work in government and the UN, and Professor used to come occasionally to, my last station was the Prime Minister's office. But he insisted that he was starting this Institute of Climate Change, that I would fit there. And I would say that, you know, my training is completely different. But he insisted, and I think he then sent my dear friend, Professor William Ogara, to persuade me that even poets are relevant in an Institute of Climate Change. The long and short of it is that Professor Wandiga had a very unique way of seeing connections and relationships and partnerships and collaborations in a way that is not so common to many of us. In fact, if I dare provoke you a little, particularly the scientists here, because I've been here for more than 15 years, thanks to him, the scientists generally do not want to see that connection. Some people say, no, you know, the chemistry, what would I have to do with the law and anything like that? So he had a very unique ability that I admired, and it convinced me. And I then, at that time, we were having our own special problems at the main campus of the University of Nairobi, and I ended up serving, in fact, strangely, because they were all coming from other departments, including our dear friend, Professor Lagu. I realized that I was now the only substantive member of staff in the Institute of Climate Change, yet I was a total stranger. So I'm very grateful to Professor because of that. And let me also share that I think, William Ogara, you are the one saying that. I've never seen a man who is so calm, who is so humble, a man who took his call and duty and responsibility as though this university belonged to him. I'm saying this with all the humility I can summon, because some of us sometimes get hot and we run away. I occasionally run away to do things. Shem was the first always to arrive here at ICCA, and I would be sure to leave him there in the evening. He worked, he attended all meetings. Some of us always gave excuses, no, these meetings are too much. He would be there. I've never seen such a man committed with a sense of responsibility. And the last thing perhaps to highlight is that he made my career take the kind of leap that most of people I went to school, including Prof. Ogada, might not recognize. Because now people know me as climate change. In 2018, Professor Wandiga persuaded me that because you are in humanities and social science, we must write a paper to explain to people the relationship between science and humanities. And actually, we did a paper which was to inform, that wave of the Industrial Revolution, the fourth Industrial Revolution. The paper is there and published, and it was very interesting. He then entrusted me with one of the biggest projects we have here, which done one as part of building ICCA. It was called CITICA, Transforming Social Inequalities for Climate Change, which I did. And that kind of project actually catapulted me into a world that people do not know that I'm basically a poet these days, particularly. So sometimes I run into a lot of problems because I receive emails asking me to go and give a paper on the science of the nation, or of the ocean. So it's been a great thing. It was great working with a man who is so committed. And I do join in just praying that may God rest his soul in eternal peace. And he has left an impact that, as we say in poetry, actually the man has not died. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think, Prof, Karibu. Come. Yes, yes. Then, okay. Yes, you can go there. Okay.
Good evening. My name is David Gidang. I must confess I'm not a professor. I'm a pediatrician, and we tend to be childish. And I will be childish tonight. Why am I here? I feel like an ectopic. We shouldn't belong, but I do belong. I was doing my anatomy here in 78, and of course we used to see chemistry and so forth, but I didn't meet Professor Wandiga at that time. But I did my pediatrics, I did my cardiology and so on. But in 2004, we had an aflatoxin outbreak in Makueni.
The mic to be like this.
Yeah, in Makueni, and somehow I got onto environmental health and all issues and how there's interaction. Today we talk about One Health. It's fashionable to say so. And I've had this theme said many, many times. Professor Wandiga had that knack of seeing things, interconnectedness of things. Sometimes back at a conference, and I asked him to come and talk to pediatricians. I was the chair of pediatricians then, an international conference. And he's very gentle, and I had known him through some of my friends. I invited him, and he came. What impressed you most? He came with a small little piece of paper. He leans on the podium and talks. Very impressive, very brilliant man. And that was the beginning of me seeing this. And after that, when I had done my public health and so on, I wanted to look at interconnectedness of things on health. So I conceptualized the paper, or rather a project, how the environment affects health and so on, upstream intervention. What can we do upstream? Because health, we work downstream when you're sick. So I did write a PhD proposal, a question, and then it came to funding. I was not a member of staff. I didn't have any money. I was talking about doing expensive tests. And somebody said, go and talk to Professor Wandiga. He's into climate things. So I came to see him. And he became my supervisor. So at the age of 54, I embarked on my PhD, going away from cardiology and pediatrics. And he held my hand, thinking differently and so on. He was so encouraging that I got my PhD at the age of 62, on the 62nd, whatever. But what I remember about Professor Wandiga is his encouragement. He's so gentle. He does not chide. When I come, I'm lost. He says, you know it. You're the expert. You're the expert. And I used to meet him in church. And the talks I used to have after that was, Professor, I hope chemistry can do something that denatures maize so that it is not eaten and giving you bad health, but it's used usefully in a different way, breaking it down for use in another way. Chemistry is really a chemistry thing. And I kept on challenging him that, because if you condemn maize today, it will find itself in the market on the other side. But if chemists here can help us, and I'm challenging this, and I used to tell him that all the time, if we can look at a way of making that maize useful in another way, where a farmer who has 2 gunias can actually get money from it, then we'll have made an impact. That was the kind of conversation I would have with him even when we met at St. Austin's. But I am like fish out of water with a lot of you, and I'm happy to be here. And I condole with the family.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I now request a lawyer first, a lawyer. Prof, okay. Prof Waima, I want somebody, a lawyer, to say something first. Then a Chiromite. Then a Chiromite. Sorry.
God is good.
Yes.
And all the time. So,
The other way.
hello, can you hear me? Could you hear me earlier?
Yes.
Thank you. The family of Professor Shem or Wandiga. My name is Ben Sihanya. I know we had some tributes on Sunday at the Nairobi Safari Club on some of these issues, and I'll add a few areas, but I'll be brief, but I'll add a few areas on the tribute. So I first met Professor Shem Wandiga in 1988-89 when we first came to first year law school as a villager. And he was the DVC administration and finance. And we knew of him as this is about the interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, cross-disciplinarity. So even as mere law students, we were aware that there was a serious scholar there called Professor Wandiga. And that's much later, a little later, a year, when I had just finished first year, I went to African Center for Technology Studies, ACTS. And Professor Ogada is here and has spoken about that. And I was an intern. And then Dr. Kalesas Juma, later Professor Kalesas Juma, used to send us to leading scholars. So as a lawyer, we started interacting quite a lot with the scientists as well. So Professor S.H. Ominde, we would be sent there. We would be sent to Professor Wandiga's office because there was a lot of science and technology research. And we also are aware that even after he had left DVC A and F, he still maintained the scholarship, which has been spoken about, which I need not add, and everybody knows that he was consistent as a scholar, and that really, and an academic, and a teacher, a researcher, a mentor. And therefore, even that influenced many of us quite a lot to love academic work, to look at it as something that you can dedicate your whole life to, because most people have been joining the academy, as we know, because of maybe an extra check, moonlighting, or something like that, but not really as a profession, something that you should really nurture and internalize and grow others, including growing 60-year-old PhD students, which we have been told here. And that really came from him internalizing the academy. He's been a chancellor, yeah, he's been a chancellor at even more recently. So he's gone almost he's a lecturer, a DVC, a lead researcher, a member of so many boards that deal with scholarship, including the Dean of Scholars at ACTS, which has had a long and important tradition in this country. Actually, ACTS was the first policy research center in this region. Policy was only discussed in the Department of Economics, a bit of it. But in terms of science and technology policy, ACTS is the one that, and even me, I started intellectual property from there. It was never taught in the universities. And we also got a lot of learning from the scientists, Professor Wandiga and others, scholars here in biology and chemistry, etc., etc. So we also met Professor Wandiga when he was working at the center which Professor Uta and others have spoken about, climate change, because it's really, really important even to us in law. And I was just mainly emphasizing the interdisciplinary impact of Professor Wandiga and the idea of a scholar and an academic. More recently, we have also been meeting him at the UK club over the years, really, United Kingdom Club, where he is always having meetings with people, and even when he's in a very, very busy meeting, Professor Wandiga would be available to talk to you, and many of us used to talk to him there. Even when, for example, sometimes he would be meeting the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, he would still spare some time to speak with you. That's how accessible he was, and really encouraging and inspiring to many of us. So he's really influenced many of us to really take academics seriously. Professor Wandiga is also one person who was always available for others. And that's why when he's being celebrated, whether on Sunday or today, and there was also in the morning, many feel that we also ought to at least be available for him and for his family. He was always available. One of very remarkable, among many, one of the most remarkable was also when we were celebrating the life of Professor Bethuel Alan Ogot. Professor Wandiga was there, and many of us took photos with him. You know, he was always this senior scholar that you also want to celebrate and relate with. So I would really, Kenya National Academy of Sciences, to which many of us belong here, he also has been a chair or president there. And his work has really inspired many of us. Even though we were very distant from chemistry as lawyers, we appreciated the contribution that he has made. Lastly, maybe just wish that and pray for Professor Wandiga to rest in peace, and we pray for the family. I think the good that he has done will leave quite a lot after him. That's a paraphrase of William Shakespeare. The good will really live after him, and it's already being seen everywhere we go. So can we just sing one verse of a very powerful song called Count Your Blessings, and we count him as one of our blessings. One of the very few classical, typical, traditional, good scholars that we have known. The people who still believe that scholarship means something, the academy is something. It's not just an occupation, it's a profession, it's a lifelong vocation. In the way Max Weber used to talk of science as a vocation, politics as a vocation. Academy is still a vocation, and we would encourage the younger ones to really take the academy seriously. Who is leading us in Count Your Blessings? Name them, one of us only. One, please, because of time. You know it. Count Your Blessings. Who is it? Singing that powerful song. We are counting Professor Shem Oyoo Wandiga as our blessing, now and forever. Who is this? Your name has been, even just one verse. Let's sing. And them one by one. Count your blessings, just what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count it, surprise you what the Lord has done. Thank you, all the best.
Thank you very much. As Professor Waima is coming, and we are we are broadcasting this live, and Professor Bernard Aduda is following, and Professor Bernard Aduda was, of course, a professor of physics and the principal of the College of Biological Physics, the College of Biological and Physical Science, and the DVC of Eastern University. I just want to ask Professor Mabora through him to pass his condolences to the family. That's what I want to say. But I think there are so many people who are still following us online. I now give the opportunity to Professor Mwawema Polisana.
Thank you very much. The lawyer jumped the queue, but I forgive him. My condolences to Cecilia and your sisters and the rest of the family. I have not interacted with Professor Wandiga in the manner in which many of you have interacted with him. Of course, I was employed by him. He was DVC, so you can also guess my age. um, I would mention maybe 3 instances. One was when I was presenting many things in Senate in the early 90s. I presented many documents on science and technology. I'm from IT. And Professor Wandiga raised his hand and said, Chairman, I think I was talking about STEM. Chairman, I would want to disagree with this thing called STEM. It is a very quiet way. It is I want to propose something called STEAM. And he put the A stands for arts because he believed science must work with humanities. This is just to reiterate what other people have said about interdisciplinarity and all these things. And that was in the early 90s. The other thing was when I found him as a DVC when I was employed. I didn't go to university here, but I found him as a DVC. And what surprised me was at that time, after he finished his tour as a DVC, he came back to chemistry. And he was attending Senate like everybody else. A lot of these people who have taken political kind of jobs disappear and go and do other things. So I was meeting him in Senate. I was saying, this is my former DVC. Yeah? And humble as ever. The other thing was we got a consultancy to do some World Bank job in the early 90s. And he was our team leader. And when I looked at the consultancy, I told him, Shem, the money is too small. Can we reject this, or can we ask for the money to be increased? This is World Bank. They have a lot of money. He told me, young man, I don't know which words he used, but he said, you'll be told, yes, something like that. Go slow. I was hot-headed at that time. And I was telling him, let's reject this or make an appeal for the money to be increased. And he said, no. Young man, when you get to my age, you also realize there are bills to be paid also. So I said, okay. And we worked on the consultancy. I was the only person with a computer at that time. So everything ended up in my office. I had an office in Westlands. And I ended up in my office to process all the documents, the reports, and everything else. And then the consultants went well, and we did a good job. And the next thing was, he used to live near me, near Air Center. Kayawe, what is it, that road called? That road. I knew the house at the corner there. Yeah. And my wife worked with one of those bilateral donors. And she had a job on monitoring and evaluation. And she asked me, do you know somebody who can do this? I said, of course I know. I know somebody called Professor Shem Wandiga. So I walked to his house. It was not very far from me. So I went to the terms of reference. I told him, Shem, my wife works with some international organization, and they're looking for a consultant to do this. From the work we did, I think you can do this. He looked at them, his calm sense, he says, yeah, I can do it. So I went and told my wife, yes, he says he can do it. So he wrote a proposal. Wrote the proposal, I looked through it, I gave my wife, she went and discussed. But before I gave it to my wife, because I knew the budget, I went and told him, this money you're proposing is too small. He was very down to earth. I mean, he did not want to put a lot of money. He just put what he felt was simple. I told him, if you increase it, it won't hurt. and he increased the amount, and he got the job, and he did a good job. So please, Cecilia and your sisters and other people, carry that name with pride, because he was a great man. And we pray for his soul to rest in peace. Thank you very much.
I now request our former student, Dr. Ivan Kiganda, just to come and give his tribute.
Yeah, hello. Hello. Good evening to you all. Yeah, I thought I'll first wait for the elders to speak, because for us, the grandchildren speak a lot. I thank the life of Professor Wandiga, and I thank you, the family, who allowed him to be with us. I'm among the last born of Professor Wandiga for the master's class. And I remember I traveled all the way from Uganda, and I wanted to run back. But the only excuse as a student, you always have to tell a lie, I'm sick. And in Nairobi, I don't have any medication. And he held my hand and told me, Ivan, follow me. I know you are sick, but it may be sickness in the pocket or in the stomach. So which one should we treat first? Very politely, I told him, like, actually the sickness is in both places, the stomach and the pocket, but I'm also having malaria. He said, in Kenya, we don't have malaria in Nairobi. So it was a wrong catch. Yeah. And he took me to the office. He first sorted the stomach, and I was happy. He sorted the pocket later. And after that, he told me, whenever you feel you are sick, talk to me first. Don't talk to anybody else, because I know they will allow you to travel back to Kampala. Our class was very friendly, at least Professor Abi, Professor Solomon can attest to that. But the person who made us take the photo first was Professor Wandiga. He said, I've liked you guys, so you have to take a photo with me. And he used to come with his projector, and whenever we would like to carry it, he would say, if you know the age, then you can carry it. But if you don't know the age, please let me carry the projector, you carry the bag. So it was kind of a very interactive person, and he made us very, very proud of him. And the photo that we took in that class, we made a Christmas package for all of them, and we put it there. He was extremely happy. But one of the most interesting part is when I was posting funny thing on my Facebook, I thought nobody cares about that. So he wrote to me in the messenger, Ivan, I'm watching you. So if you're going to be a doctor, this will follow you up until you die. So I stopped posting anyhowly. I got changed. So he was kind of a person who follows you. And I was surprised on the day of my graduation. I saw a Facebook call. I was like, who is this calling? It was him congratulating me. Actually, that call made me extremely proud that I came to Nairobi University. And I've met very great mentors in Nairobi University, Professor Kariuki. And from this, I remember I'll keep the voice, the softness. I like the softness of Professor Wandiga, and I'll keep it everywhere I go. And his name will be on my lips. I'll make sure I extend everything I've learned from Nairobi University and the great mentors. Thank you very much.
Of course, the evening is going very fast. I now give opportunity to anyone who want to say something from ICCA, from chemistry, any of you, please come. Okay, let me allow Wafula, the tallest member of the Department of Chemistry, to come and say a few words of tributes.
Good evening. Good evening, all of you. Well, We are celebrating Professor Wandiga's life. We are also sad. I'm one of the orphans, but let's keep up from where he left us. A lot has been said. Maybe I'll pick just a few. I can talk the whole night. Professor Wandiga was my mentor, their mentor, his mentor. Maybe I'll just pick on a few things that, just a small part. One, as we are talking, and I think Professor Kariuki can bear me witness, we have a regional center of excellence in pesticides research, courtesy of Professor Wandiga, in the whole of Africa. Then for persistent organic pollutants, our lab is also the center coordinating the whole of Africa. Thanks to Professor Wandiga's efforts. I wish he would have had these things when he was alive. Then there's a time we did a project on nutrients in Lake Victoria. We did a lot of work and we also coordinated 12 African countries. But I specifically want to talk about the Nairobi River Basin project. Not the research per se, but how we went about it. So some time back, more than 20 years ago, we were in that project. Professor Karuki was one of them. I think the late Dr. Doro was one of them. We decided to do something on Nairobi River, and through Professor Wandiga's leadership, we collected data for more than 17 years. It was a lot of work. Professor Wandiga was never selfish. He taught us to work without expecting any money. We were working without money. Of course, there was something for subsistence, but we did that. So after the first phase, the UNEP were very happy. They gave us another phase whereby we developed a water quality monitoring protocol. It's available. We developed it. And then the UNEP were also very happy. Then they said we are going to do what you call mini monitoring. So now that is where our challenge started. It was not really a challenge. The funds were coming through the university, the college. And I think those of you who have been in the university, you know how hard it is. And with UNEP projects, they have tight deadlines. I think it was a 14-month project. So we had a budget. We were to be subjected to this animal called procurement. So we, through Professor Wandiga's leadership, he looked and said, at this rate, those things will be procured after the project. So what do we do? What do we do? He sat us down and said, what we are going to do, you people will be surrendering your subsistence. He's even nodding, he was one of them. So we were surrendering part of our subsistence. We get our subsistence, we buy those equipments. And those ones enabled us to do what you call mini monitoring. We were able to do it successfully and we were able to beat the deadline. But to cut a long story short, those equipment came after the project. Anyway, we were able to carry our mandate, but the equipment helped the other people. So in short, he was wise, he was not selfish. I wish all of us would be like that. He would think about the others. He was diplomatic, he would tell us diplomatically what to do. I don't have much. Pole sana to the family, pole sana to all of us. Thank you very much.
So as from the tributes that are coming, you can see Prof. Wandiga was a gentle giant who has done a lot, and as family, as his children, we also have a responsibility of giving him a proper, well-deserved send-off. So, and I also want to welcome Professor Mitema to come and say a few words. Prof, karibu.
Thank you very much. Cecilia and the rest of Professor Wandiga's family and the academic community, the colleagues. Professor Mtema, Wandiga did not employ me. I think I'm probably the second cohort after him because I came to University 79. He was a senior lecturer at that time. I was a young lecturer. So then he was teaching chemistry. He was very close with the people. And I'd like to talk about Professor Wandiga. Some of you may not know, when he was the deputy VC and F, because I've got a lot of institutional memory, he was tasked with getting Kenyans to come and teach at the university. So he moved into Europe and the US and was able, to bring people on board to come and help in teaching. I think that was 85 when he was deputy VC A and F. He was a deputy VC. The VC that time was Professor Mbidi Philip. Then Gichaga was the deputy VC academic. Wandiga was the deputy VC admission and finance. So he had the task to ensure that University of Nairobi had enough good talent. So he was actually literally headhunting Kenyans who are hiding somewhere in Europe or somewhere in the US. So that is one of his greatest achievements. Another achievement that most of you might not know is that he contributed heavily to the Constitution of Kenya. I think it was a Science Act. There is a paragraph there that was his brainchild, that he wanted in the Constitution that something to do with science is captured within the Constitution, our Constitution. So he was very, very instrumental in ensuring that is to be on board. And then, so he dedicated his time to administration and manpower development for this country. I know a lot of you have, I was watching this online before I came here, a lot of you have talked about his academic prowess, but he was also very good in ensuring, he was, as you say, he was smooth. Personally, I interacted with Professor Wandiga from 79, 80, 91 on one or two capacities. I was actually his vet for a long time. So somebody like, I think the young lady might know me, and it's your mom, Regina. I used to be Professor Wandiga's vet for quite some time when they were living in Kayawe Street, and he was very close that time, Kayawe Road. And he was, as I say, very soft-spoken fellow. And when I remember seeing your mother, your grandmother, most of the time she was there, also very soft-spoken. So Wandiga was such a nice guy. When I was a chair, because I also was a university admission, when I was a chair of the department, I was trying to hire somebody who had a chemistry degree. I'm a veterinarian myself. So she had done inorganic chemistry with Professor Wandiga. So I asked him, do you think Latisa Kanja would be a good candidate for us to teach? Okay, she's in organic chemistry, so she did heavy metals. So I was looking for somebody who would be able to help in that. Because we are a professional display, but we didn't mind hiring. I know that at that time, Professor Mugera was the dean. He was very keen on hiring a non-vet to the veterinary degree. So I told Professor Mugera, look, I think we need a chemist somehow or the other, because so that we have somebody who can be able to help do the analysis of the various compounds, because we have GC, mass spec, and everything like that. So I consulted him, and he was very, very instrumental in that. So I can say that I know a lot has been said about him. He's a nice guy. I know him from Cindy. My sister's married next to their home there. So once in a while, I pass there when I go to see my sister. I pass his home near Simbi School there, and I see that. So again, from the United Kenya Club, that's been like his second home. I think I'm the oldest in the United Kenya Club in terms of joining the club, because I joined the club in 1980. See, I'm not that young also. So in 1980, when I became a member, so I joined the club before him. It's only the late Professor Minde and the Jan who are ahead of them. So the Wandiga, Raila, Otino Sanya, Isa Kurure, and those were the people they used to climb. I think Cecilia may be aware of that, or Owino Kongo, they were ahead of us. So that cohort is bad. Again, to the chemistry department, I feel so bad that we just lost Professor Mnavu, then now Wandiga, and I know we also lost Professor Douglas Odhiambo. Was it 4 or 5 years ago? Yeah, so I was employed by Professor Douglas Odhiambo. That was the one who signed my letter of offer. So I tell you, I'm not that young. But when I was hired in '76, I think it was Professor Goat. No, Karanja, the small Karanja. I think some of you do not know the difference between. There were two Karanjas. There was some we called the VC. There was some we called small Karanja. So with all that, I just wanted to give you some of the old past and Wandiga, how he shaped, is respected internationally, in chemistry, and we have done a lot. We have interacted in many, many ways with him, and people will miss him. So his ego, the family, we hope that will be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The lawyer did not introduce himself. I allow him to tell us what his name is, and then I will invite.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. Ben Sihanya, University of Nairobi Law School. Ben, hello, can you hear me? Hello, Ben Sihanya, University of Nairobi Law School, intellectual property, consumer law, and education law, and also I do Sihanya advocates and mentoring. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So continuing in the spirit of transdisciplinary, I want to invite Professor Onyango Uma from the Department of History and Archaeology to pay his tribute. Prof. Karibu.
It's not history and archaeology.
You know it better.
The green part. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of myself and my department, I bring our condolences to the family of the late Professor Shem Wandiga. I think it's such occasions when you know the true character of a man, that when people talk about him, you know that he had touched several people. My name is Onyango Ouma. I'm from Institute of Anthropology, Gender and African Studies. As opposed to all who have spoken here, I'm a professor of anthropology. My relationship with Professor Wandiga was rather unique. I knew him when he was DVC. That was when I was a student. But I was later to come close to him around 2005 to about 2010. I used to frequent UKC, where there used to be a men-only bar inside. I was probably one of the youngest people who would sit there with the elders. There were a number of my village mates who were his friends at that time. And that's when I came close to him. I would sit there. And later he realized that we had been parking at the same place in front of the chemistry department. That's where I used to park. And around 2005, I was one of the few people who had a new car on that car park. The other one was Kitui. So Kitui had a RAV4, I had an RVR. So we were easily noticeable and we were young PhDs. So we became very close and he was always interested in what I was doing. I would tell you for sure that he was a great scholar in the sense that a number of the people you see here today only know themselves as chemists. And very often they care less what I do. But Professor Wandiga always wanted to know what was new in anthropology. What was it that you were doing? So we always, when we met there, we had our little corner at the end. At about 8:30, we would chat and talk. And you would always get a lot of what we would call in social sciences, a lot of sage ideas, wisdom. He would always advise you on how to go about issues. Later, I joined him. He was a great member of the High Table in Chiromo Club. The High Table is usually somewhere there. And at that time, around 2005, 2007, Professor Jan, Professor Midiwo, and a number of other professors were there, and he was always a frequent member. And I was, again, one of the youngest people sitting there, picking wisdom from him slowly. And there was something we picked out, that those who had studied in America would always order their meal with a cold Coke. So, a cold Coke. So he would always order his meal and sit there quietly, and he would always advise, as has been said here, with a lot of gentility, how to go about issues. He would say, he would always encourage me to get in administration. And as a young lecturer, I was not very keen on administration. He always tried to get me into administration. And as others, he managed to get them to do what they want, but I let him down on 2 occasions. One, he had sourced me to send my CV when he was forming ICCA. And I politely explained to him that I was so much engrossed on health matters that I didn't want to get into climate at that particular time. And he calmly understood and said, okay, stick with your line. Then later, when he went to Bond again, he came for me, said that I was keen on establishing a directorate of material science at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University, and we need anthropology there. I think you can go there and be a director of research. Again, I calmly explained to him that I don't want to go to the village universities. And he heartily laughed and said, I respect you. I think you know where you want to go, and it's good that you have a conviction of what you want to go. So all the time he would source me up, and I think I would say he was a true scholar, because a true scholar must go outside his discipline and know what other people are talking about. The moment we get pigeonholed into our own disciplines, we miss a lot, because phenomena that we are studying has all dimensions, and all dimensions is what make humanity. So I think, again, we have lost a great man, a gentleman by excellence, and also a good mentor and a good advisor who would seek out those who are outside chemistry. He could see us, not just because we are tall, but because he knew anthropology had something to offer. I think with those many remarks, I say we'll give our regards to the family and say thank you for coming and for honoring a great man. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. So as we conclude the tributes, allow me to invite Dr. John Wabomba to come and give his tributes. Wabomba, karibu.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My condolences to the family. We have lost a great person. Yeah, we have lost a great person, and as we say, great people don't die, they only transition. We are happy that we are celebrating his life rather than mourning, because he has made us, he has made us grow. I first met Professor Wandiga when I came here as a student doing my master's, and he took us in inorganic chemistry of complexes. So he taught us, and that time, you see, there was no advantage of PowerPoint, so he used to use transparencies, and he was the only one who was using that. So the only problem is that he was a bit fast, and the things he was teaching, we could not find them in the books. Until one day he said, we are going to have a cut. He said, no, Prof, now. We had a meeting and we said, let's go and talk to Professor, because apart from this chemistry being complex, things are becoming complicated with the cut. So because we went and talked to him, just humbly, because we were very young and still very afraid. But he listened to us. We told Professor, we cannot find notes for this course, and we don't think we caught up with what you are teaching, because we are a bit too fast. Say, no, don't worry. Then he took the transparencies and said, how many do you want? Just make photocopies and go and read. And you'll have to bring them back to me. Then we photocopied at least we started understanding, we read through. He was very humble, and when the card came and the exams, at least we did very well. Another thing is that my experience with the professor is when his own father died, we went for a funeral in Kendu Bay. That's for the first time I came to know about Simbi Nyaima. And we also talked about Homer Hills. And I realized that Simbi Nyaima was a crater lake, but it's a very alkaline lake. And it has got so many stories. So when in the evening, he said, don't go, just wait when other people have gone, we sat with him in his house and he told us so many things about himself, about his house, how he constructed, how people said, we are going to see a professor's house, is the largest in the village. And people used to come to view the house. And I asked him about the water of Simbinyaima. And he said, no, no, no. We haven't had so much studies about it, but since you are working on your materials and you are dealing with water, you should come back and collect some samples and go and also try. So I went back and collected some samples from the place and also from Homer Hills because I realized there were hot spots of springs and just on the shores of the lake. I did not know. And the water was quite interesting. We worked on it and with some interesting results. Another thing about Professor is that the last time I've met Professor, it was just when we were having a requiem mass for Professor Munavu at St. Paul's. And I realized that was 8th of this month of May. Then I realized it was only 10 days after Professor Munavu's requiem mass that Professor left us. We talked, we hugged with him. He was so jovial. We asked him so many questions, although we did not have so much time. And we said, Professor will meet again and interact. But we were not lucky enough to meet again. But we pray that his soul rests in peace, as we also try to do good things the way he taught us to do them here, so that we can also help other people to come up and become as good as the professor himself was. I know we'll not replace him, but we can keep in our memories. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. I think allow me to close this session. And thank you all for the tributes, the moving tributes you have given about our mentor, Professor Wandiga. And this, fortunately, is recorded. And I can assure you, his grandchildren, the ones who are yet to be born, will also get to learn about the man that is Professor Wandiga and be inspired by that. So allow me just to take back to the family so that you give us some guidance on how to go from here so that we can give Professor Shem Wandiga a well-deserved send-off. Thank you.
Just before I hand over to Ken, I wanted to say one thing that I should have mentioned. Prof. Wandiga asked me to write a foreword to his autobiography. And it was in fairly still quite rough. And I actually spoke with him the Sunday, day before actually he passed on, and asked him, Prof, I need to write that foreword for your autobiography. Have you advanced it well enough so I can pull out some of the nuggets? And he said, no, I've been a bit lazy. So we had agreed, okay, we'll meet after this week because I was traveling out to China, that we would meet and then see how to hasten it. So I'm hoping, Cecilia, you will be on it. Yeah, thank you.
I can give it. So thank you, everyone. And on that, the title is Chasing the Chemical Dream. As it would happen, Cambridge Scholars Press had approached me to do a book, and I asked them if I could do a book series, 5 books, Chasing the Chemical Dream, starting with what he left, and then also Prof. Wanyama Utafiti Foundation. So we're going to do parallel. The Cambridge Scholars one is going to be deep on the chemistry and the science for the international audience. The one with Prof. Wanyama is going to be Utafiti trying to sort of do Dad's teaching style of simplifying and making chemistry relevant. We're going to use the ecochemistry angle, and we'll talk about that later. So the first thing Cambridge Scholars Press is saying, where are you going to get the editors? And Dad was like, 2 book series. And I said, Dad, okay, I'm lazy, maybe my PhD in business, but I thought we do the anchor and then we get people who want to pick up each theme within the book and it becomes edited as a group. So there'll be opportunities to do that. Thank you all. Most of you who are of a certain age know this is home since I was 2 years old. this campus running around, secretaries knew where to find. And also the way in which when I called and announced, I realized how deep family was, because even for today, people were calling me last night, 9 o'clock. Do you have a camera crew? We'll support you to get the camera crew if you find who would be good, because there's his peers, workmates, not only in Alego, but South Africa, uh, California, everybody. And they said, you know, we're all watching this, and we have to be there with you live. And this also, it's not just about closure, but it's being together globally. So there's going to be a series of events coming that Ken will give you more details about. In that, let's continue to be family. We'll continue to try and keep you all plugged in like we've done today, because it's been wonderful. And somebody was talking about the village university. Yes, Juiced, the village university is also helping. So the council immediately came over to give their condolences as soon as they heard. So thank you so much.
Let's appreciate Cecilia. I mean, it's, first of all, I just want to appreciate all of you. Just sitting here, listening to your recollections about Professor. We said we call him Shem now. Yeah, we call him Shem. That is from ICCA. He always insisted. If he insisted, then we give it to him. Yeah. Let's agree that listening to all this, I'm so touched. And on behalf of the family, and I have this very difficult task, trying to manage, convene a gathering that is also going to give him. Out of the recollections, I know that we have a task. A great man needs, there's a word that comes called befitting send-off. You're great, so the send-off has also be great, befitting. Like Professor Outa said, the man has not died. And I'm also from the arts. And you mentioned that we are now, arts is no longer STEM, it's going to be called STEAM. I've also learned that it's never too late. I probably need, when I grow up, to be a chemist as well. I'm going to try and enroll in chemistry and learn a few things about molecules. And I will that, Professor Kariuki, I'll just visit your office for that class. And I know you'll hold my hand. And I think chemistry is a good space to be in. And listening to everybody, has built minds, he has held hands, he has mentored very many people. So as a family, we sat in the committee, what we call the steering committee that I'm convening. We are meeting every day at UKC. Thanks, Professor Gara, for hosting us there. And we've been going through the math. We call it mathing. And we found that the figures, because of the greatness yours, the figures also keep rising. We started by saying we might need 2 million bob. We might do. Then after a day, it jumped to 3 million. The next day, we realized that we have a budget that is close to 5 million to do this work. That legacy is big, and it has to be cemented, not in those, you mentioned there's quality control. There are things that can be used that are fake, they'll fall off after a few months. So we have, and out of this, we have appealed to institutions, and we have a pay bill that we set up that is being shared, and I'll just read it out, just in case you want to do that now. I'll read it out very slowly. The pay bill is 481 6545. 481 6545. The account is, you indicate your name,
And then the name that will appear is Shem Oyoo Wandiga Funeral Fund. I can just go over it again. The pay bill is 481-6545. The account number is your name, and then what will appear is Shem Oyoo Wandiga Funeral Fund. We also realized that there are people who may want to do direct transfers. That is so we can share that later on the groups, bank transfers. And then we realized out in this technical world, in the world of digital world, that it's also possible that there are people who may not be able to transfer. We have created a platform that can also, you can use your card, and that will also be shared on the group, especially the people who live abroad. They may use their card, and that kind of platform has been developed by one of our grandchild here, Andrew, stand up. One of the guys who've come up with it. Instead of manually tallying, once you've entered and you're paid, it just updates by itself. So thank you, Andrew, for introducing that. Will also be good. So there are 3 platforms, but the commonest one, the one that we are using mostly now, is Paybill, 481-6545, your name, then the account name is Shem Oyoo Wandiga Funeral Fund. And we have lined up. So we started on Sunday. We had tributes like this ones. And then this one today in the morning where we had the prayers. And this evening when we have also met just to remember him and just celebrate him. Then on June 4th, we have being hosted by the club. It will be the club for the club members, UKC, United Kenya Club. Let's all also meet there and share more recollections. And then on 8th, we do what we call the general collection. We are appealing to you all and your friends, bring them along. There's that cliche, Professor Uta, you say, come one, come all. So we invite you to come. On 8th, it will also be at the club, and we will try to do the final collection. Then on 10th, we have the Requiem Mass. That will also be an academic procession. It will start from here in Chiromo to the St. Paul's Chapel. We will have Mass. That Mass will be at 11. Then on 11th, we fly the body to Kisumu. And from Kisumu, then we will go by road to Simbi in Karachuonyo, Homa Bay County. And those of you who have never had a chance to see Lake Simbi, please come and see it. I'm told there's only one man who has managed to swim across. I don't know what, is it the chemistry or the physics that carried him across? But the rest have tried and they have sunk. I was challenged when I was a young man going there to throw a stone to see whether I could swim it lands. I tried. I think in my mind I decided it would never go across. So the stone just disappeared. So that it will be, and then on 12th, that will be the final interment, the interment day, and you're all welcome to Simbi. And you're all welcome to Simbi. In Homa Bay, we call it a county of opportunities, and it's a very beautiful thing. We have you come, not just to come and send your friend off, but you can also travel and find out the beauty of that county. So we welcome you all, and please join us. This figure here that is going up, I know we can all lift it, and together we can. And I want finally to thank the Department of Chemistry. The first time Cecilia told me it's not chemistry department, it's the Department of, as an editor, when I'm working with the economy of words, I will never say Department of Chemistry. I'll say the chemistry department. It means the same thing. The operating word is the department and the chemistry. The off can fall off. So when I'm doing that headline, it won't, but I know the scientists are very formulaic in the way they want everything done. When I'm writing the Minister of Education, I would drop, I say, Education Minister. That makes it. So the papers you read, we drop a lot of those things that clutter our things. So if you forgive us when sometimes you think in your technical field that we are misrepresenting, but we are communicators. And Professor was a person who climbed down from those heavy formulas and brought chemistry and the transdisciplinary things did, because he knew at the end of the day, it's about human beings, and I must communicate and I must have impact. Thank you very much, and it's been a great evening, and I'm going to enroll in the chemistry department.
I want to make some KBN 696. Your lights are on. Sorry, your lights are on. I don't know what to do from here. What do you do from here?
Now it is closed.
Yeah. I think, okay.
Okay, good. So we'd just like to thank you all for your time, taking your time.
I saw my colleagues here from the media. Are they here? And the professors are available. Just feel free, mingle with the professors are available, and everybody is available. Feel free. We need this story. I'm an editor. We never appeal for stories, but this one for me is an appeal. That when we talk about professor, we're talking about the father of chemistry. The father of chemistry. The only one around this region. We had in Kenya, Africa, and globally. Let's give him also tell the story. We tell too many stories about politicians. With their politics. Now, this is real development. This is a real hero. I'm sorry I'm making this appeal as a journalist, but I'm doing this because this is the trajectory that Kenya wants. So when you're approached for a comment, please do not fear. You will not be misquoted. You will not be misquoted. Give that, enrich the history.
Yes, thank you very much. So again, we want to really thank the family for coming out to be with us here and to hear some side of Prof that maybe many of you did not know about. And it has, I think, been a nice gathering. It's been comforting and enriching at the same time. So we continue to pray for strength for the family to go through this period. It's always a very, very difficult time when one loses someone that they love. I'd like to thank his friends who are here, colleagues, all friends really, for coming out and giving your views. Some of them, not all, I know, and hoping that maybe there'll be opportunity later on to do this. We continue to stand with the family, and we pray that we move together in one, what do you call it, in one voice, in unison, until we lay Prof to rest. And we also want to thank the crew that is here filming. Asanteni sana for the good work that you're doing. And also our hosts, the club, for availing the facility and for supporting us in all the arrangements that have been here. Solomon, for your good work as the MC for the evening. Thank you very much, everyone. And if there's anyone that I've forgotten or missed out, you are with us. We are all together in this. Asanteni sana. We would want to close with a word of prayer. I don't know who would wishes to offer to pray.
Sophie, you want to pray? Yes, okay. Sophie. Thank you very much.
Dear God, we come before you humbly to thank you for the life of Professor Wandiga, to thank you for everyone present and all their cherished memories, their beautiful tributes. We thank you for letting us spend a lifetime with a person who will go down in history as a gentle giant. And we appreciate this moment to honor his life. We ask that you hold him dearly in eternal peace. Amen.
Shukuru, beautiful.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
Shukuru.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
You've done a good job there.
Yes, we have to try.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, chemist will be Kendu Bay in a big bar.
Yeah, we'll be there.
You've gotten a vehicle already.
Yes, yes.
Huh?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
You've requested for a vehicle already.
Yes.
Okay.
The 26 seater because the bus is not comfortable.
No, it's not. I know. And last time you went there, I'm told you arrived here almost 9 p.m. As we arrived in 5:30.
Yeah.
We followed the.
Yeah. So we'll use.
Sorry. I know that.
Sorry, the lighting for where exactly? Are we going to be working on an indoor arena or something? Yeah. No. We don't cover the night vigil. It's not even on the budget that I've mentioned.